the Wheel of Food suggested I use spaghetti squash, and I was like, oh, spaghetti squash. I remember I made those lentils, and I thought those could be a great ground beef substitute. So I'm going to go vegan, and I'm going to do lentils as ground beef substitute. And I'm going to turn them into like a spaghetti and meat sauce, but without meat. So we'll do spaghetti squash, lentils, and red sauce, and I'll serve that with a salad on the side. And so let's get going. I'm going to start with the spaghetti squash because it takes the longest, about 40 minutes in the oven at 400 degrees. So I figure let's do that first, and then we can get going on the lentils while this roasts in the oven. And it wasn't very even cut. So you cut it in half, and then you're going to scoop out the membranes, and you're going to roast them in a glass Pyrex, or whatever you got that you can roast on. Spaghetti squash is really delicious, and it's fun, it's unique, tastes awesome. Anyway, so I'm going to do some olive oil on here, and salt and pepper, and that's it. Now, the question is, do you roast them face up or face down? If you read recipes on the internet, you'll see they tell you to do it both ways. What I learned is if I do them face up like this, like you're seeing right now, they pool. Like I'll get water in here and a water buildup, a liquid buildup, and it just doesn't do good for the texture. So face down, that liquid will drip out and into the actual pan, and now you don't have it pooling. So that argues for face down. But what I actually did last time that worked really well is I did halfway face up, and then at the 20-minute mark, I flip them over and do them the other half face down. So that's my go-to technique. I will eventually try to do the spaghetti squash face down the whole time. I want to see how that compares to the flipping technique. Meanwhile, instead of peeling my carrots, I always like to scrub them with a scrubby brush. And this I only use for vegetables. I don't use that for dishes. And I keep it here with the rest of my utilities. So I will try that experiment. In the meantime, I'm getting ready for my lentils. And so I'm going to cook up some aromatics first to give those lentils some better flavor. That includes, I'm going to do carrot, and onion, and garlic. And I have this chili pepper that's getting really old and dry, so I'm going to put that in there too. So it'll be a little bit spicy, which is nice. And I'm going to hit it with Indian spices. These are my homemade ones that I do, and some tomato sauce. And that's it. That'll be my my meat sauce, if you will, for the spaghetti squash. I've set my pan on the heat. It's warming up nicely. And I put some olive oil in here. Again, vegan, so no butter, right? I could use my vegan butter, but olive oil is perfect for this. So these are some of my Indian spices, and I'm putting them in here. They're going to toast for a second and bloom in this oil, bringing out some more of their flavor. Oop, there we go. Oh, they smell so amazing already. This aroma is just spectacular. And then to this, I'm going to start adding some of my other ingredients, starting with my onion and carrots. Let me get that go for a second. So I've added the onion. That was straight from the freezer. Most of my cooking for one recipes use half an onion, so the other half always goes in the freezer. And that way I always either have a fresh onion waiting to become a half onion, or a half onion in the freezer waiting to get used up. So great, totally easy. Always have onions on hand if you always just freeze the other half already minced up, ready for use. So we got both those in there. I'm also going to add in that dried chili stuff in there. Good. And some salt and pepper. And this will be ready to just kind of let it go for a little while until it softens. And then the lentils can go in with some water and some sauce. 2 to 1, guys. So I'm doing a cup of lentils, so I'll do 2 cups of water. I'm also going to have a salad, so I'm going to do just a very basic champagne vinegar olive oil vinaigrette. So if I put Dijon, I call it a Dijonette. Basically, the way this works is you need 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. So if you think about it, what you're doing is you're using the oil as your dressing, and you're just seasoning it with a third the amount of champagne. So you pour in about as much as you think you'll need for your salad. Okay, and then you add vinegar, 1/3 amount of what you just put in, and you eyeball that. You just kind of guess at it. If you like it more vinegary, less vinegary, you can always adjust it. And then salt and pepper. If I add Dijon to this, it'll make it more emulsified, which is nice, and it's a Dijonette, but it does change the flavor as well. So I'll do that, the Dijonette sometimes, and other times I'll do just this very basic, vinaigrette. You could spike this with garlic, you could add herbs. It's been 20 minutes, so the spaghetti squash is halfway done. I'm gonna pull it out of the oven, and I want you guys to see this. So, do you see all this liquid? Let me see if I can show you that. So you can see there's a lot of liquid in there, and that's not good for the texture. So now I'm gonna go ahead and flip these guys over and then let them cook face down, and then I get a much more interesting texture out of the spaghetti squash. Now, this liquid inside of here, well, that just sounds like flavor to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this squash liquid, which is also olive oil and salt and pepper, and I'm gonna add that to my lentils. Why not? And now I can come over here and flip these guys over, face down, and I'll bake them for 20 minutes now in this direction, and we'll be done. Spaghetti squash ready. So this is intensely flavorful now, and it's time for me to add the garlic. I add the garlic near the end because garlic burns so easily when it's minced or crushed. So this way I can just stir it in. Oh, I smell it immediately. And before it has a chance to burn, I will throw in my lentils. So here goes the lentils. All right. So this is my ground beef substitute. And I've never done it, so I'm not sure how much. I thought maybe a cup would be the right amount for 2 servings. It's possible it'll be way too much. It looks like it's a lot. So we'll see how that works out. And so we'll get this all stirred together to get the flavors combined. And then we'll add the... Okay, so the lentils have absorbed a lot of that flavor. Time to add the water. So there's that. Now, I could back down on the water. It's 2 cups, but I'm adding that tomato sauce, and that's water too, right? But I do want it to have a lot of liquid at the end to help coat the zucchini squash spaghetti. Sorry, the spaghetti squash. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the full 2 cups, and I'm going to also add in the can of sauce. It smells so amazing right now in here. Those Indian spices are just incredible. Okay, so here's a 2nd cup of water. Seems like a lot. Okay, get that stirred in. And finally, I'm gonna add the tomato sauce. I think if I do this again, I'll add the tomato sauce before the water and let that cook a little bit with the lentils, imparting the tomato flavor and letting the canned flavor kind of cook out a little bit, and then I'll add the water. That would have been a smarter move. Now I know. So I would reverse that if I was you guys. Okay, so now I'll get this stirred up, bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and then 20 minutes from now, this should be finished. And guess what? 20 minutes from now, the squash should be finished too, so that'll be perfect. I can just get to work on that salad. Well, in about 9 minutes, the spaghetti squash will be ready. I'm gonna go ahead and set up my salad here. Very simple. I just got this very veggie mix, so it's already got some vegetables in it. And I'll add some cheese to this and call it done. So I'll take that, I'll toss it in that dressing. Beautiful. Nice, simple, light salad to go with. Like if I use spaghetti, I would totally want to go with a light salad on the side. And that's kind of what I'm riffing on here. I might have been too much dressing. You can see it looks a little overdressed, so I'm going to add a little bit more lettuce to absorb that. I always have trouble figuring out how much dressing I want, but there, that should do it. And then just take some of this cheese and sprinkle that on top. Voila, simple salad. I'll probably enjoy that now for the next 9 minutes while the rest of it comes together. Boom. I've seen this trick for resealing a bag like this. I don't know if I can make it work. You kind of fold it down on itself like this, getting rid of the air as you go. And then when you get near to the bottom, you actually come back a peg and you fold the edges backwards, and then you flip the thing you folded inside out, and it traps what you folded sideways, and it becomes a little locked up pouch. And you put that back in the fridge. Oh, that's a cute little salad. And we're about 5 minutes away from the spaghetti squash being ready. Now, I usually have dried fruit. Right now I have dried ginger. I don't think that would work so well here. But I usually have dried fruit, so adding a little dried fruit to this is great. I often have nuts. I have a whole list of lower sodium snacks, and nuts can be low sodium if you don't have the salty kind, and dried fruit is. And then you can sprinkle that on here. So I often will do that. I also usually have a raw vegetable, like a carrot or a cucumber, and I can put that on here. All I had was an avocado, and I already have plans for that, guys. So this is perfect. That champagne vinaigrette is for sure my favorite vinaigrette. So if you've never had the champagne vinaigrette, I recommend it. It makes the best mayonnaise when I make a mayonnaise. Well, my lentils are pretty much done. Take the lid off of there. And you can see they have expanded quite a bit. There's a little bit of extra liquid down there. That's perfect. I tasted it, and oh man, with those Indian spices, these aromatics in here, this is divine. So this will be perfect for my spaghetti squash. Give it a little taste here. Really nice. The lentils seem a little firm still though, so I think they need a few more minutes. And let's get the spaghetti squash prepped while we let these finish off. I've pulled the squash out of the oven, and they are going to be super duper hot. And it's always a challenge to figure out how do you get the shreds out without burning yourself. But let's take a look at this. Look at that. Oh, tell me that doesn't make you want to dig right in. So I'm gonna let that cool a little bit, and I took it out of here because it'll be cooler on the plate. The other one I can leave in there because I'm not gonna use it for a while. But this one here will shred up as soon as it gets cold enough that I can hold it, so I can start scraping it. Won't be long, just a minute. All right, this thing is still pretty warm, but I think I can make it work. So I keep my hot glove on, and I start scraping. Oh, did you see how awesome that is? It's like magic. Look at these beautiful strands. I mean, that's spaghetti squash right there at its finest. So we'll get this all stretched out. And what I try to do is make myself a little thumb hole here at the top of it. There we go. And now I can really do the whole thing. So that's my technique. Make a little thumb hole, use a hot glove, and then I can get in there while it's still piping hot. Look at that. That's so much spaghetti squash. Oh, so fun. How did nature make this? And there, my friends, is a plate of delicious spaghetti squash. Now, I'm using it as spaghetti, but you really could just use this as a side anytime. It makes a lot, though. You'd end up with 4 servings, I think, if you were doing it as a side as opposed to as the main. So haven't figured out, maybe I freeze the other half of the squash. We'll see what I do with that. But in the meantime, it's time to start plating this up. So the lentils I've softened the rest of the way. And so now, there we go. If I had some parsley, that would be beautiful on here, just a little bit of fresh parsley. Or if I wasn't going vegan today, I could put some Parmesan cheese on there and have a nice little blanket of Parmesan. So, or I could just eat it the way it is. Voila. Spaghetti squash with lentils instead of ground beef. Man, given the size of this portion, I definitely did not need that salad. So note to self, don't need a salad with my spaghetti squash. So anyway, let's mix this together a bit and get myself a good taste out of here. So we get some nice spaghetti squash, get the lentils. So spaghetti and meatballs, or spaghetti and meat sauce, this is not. But delicious, absolutely. I do miss the Parmesan. I think I could have put that on there. I don't have to be vegan, right? I was just doing it for fun, really. But so I do miss that. But it's not spaghetti and meat sauce. Oh, but it's good. The Indian spices are really nice. The flavors of the, just all the flavors here came together. And then that beautiful squash underneath it all giving you a pseudo spaghetti feel. This is definitely staying on the rotation. And I'll be enjoying lentils as a meat substitute all the time. Thank you. Okay, so that's spaghetti squash. This is the other half of it. Look at this. So that's 2 servings of squash there. I'm putting this in the freezer, and I'll use that in a use up. And then this is the other half of the lentils, and again, that's 2 servings. So I'm also putting this in the freezer. So I'll have some lentils as beef substitute in the freezer, and some spaghetti squash in the freezer, and I'll do some use up stuff with that in the future. 1/4 cup per serving, so a half cup total. And I made a cup, way too much. So next time I'll make a half a cup, and that should be plenty, and then I won't have to do this. But meanwhile, these two will be wonderful use up things down the road. You'll see them again in a future video.